so good. You're on the number one. FMRadio.com.
Aniria, can you hear me? Are you there?
Yes, hello.
What is going on? How are you doing?
I am doing great. I'm so happy to be here. Hi, everybody. Hi, DJ Echo. So good to be here.
Awesome. So this is Comedy Week, and I had to have you on the show. We've known each other for a little while. We actually met each other through Huevo Frito, and
Yes.
you were able to help. I was doing a breast cancer awareness month last October, and you sent me one of your Kefoni shirts in pink. I mean, it was just perfect. I love that shirt. I wear it all the time. So thank you so much. Listen, if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get right into it, because the people the people want to know about you. You know. All right.
Awesome.
So when did you realize that comedy was your passion? Like, it's okay to be funny, but when did you realize, like, this is it for me?
I think it was at a very young age, even though I didn't start till I was way into adulthood. But at age 14 is when comedy clubs were bringing comedians on. Well, let me reword it. The comedy was coming out of the clubs and into the TV. You know,
Right.
shows were starting to come out like VH1 Stand Up Spotlight and just a bunch of other shows on TV. And that was the first time I was exposed to stand-up comedy. And I was a fan. I mean, I was a huge fan. And I thought, oh, my God, I want to do this. I think I can do this. You know, it was like a revelation, but I didn't come to do it till I was in my 30s. But I knew then that was my calling.
That was it. You knew right then that was what it was all about.
Yes.
All right. So you said you were well into your 30s. So can you remember your first, like, paid comedy gig?
Yes, actually, my first paid comedy gig, my mentor, his name is Pretty Paul Parsons. He took me to this Irish bar called the Celtic Ray in Punta Gorda, Florida. Shout out to Max Doyle. He's the owner. And they were doing a show. They were having a bunch of comedians. In my mind, I was just going there to practice. I was fairly new, into the comedy scene. So I didn't even know I was going to get paid, and it was a great time. It was a packed house. I remember that. And then at the end, they gave me a little something, nothing big, but for me, it was a big deal.
Hey, it's your first one. I mean, you're actually getting paid to do what you love. Like, I don't know, for my first paid, like, DJing gig, I didn't care. I was just like, wow, I'm getting money to do what I love. This is amazing.
Yeah. Yes.
So we all see hecklers, like, on stand up, and I mean, some of them go viral, not so much because of the heckler, but how, like, the comedian handles the situation. They can either go bonkers or they can make it an opportunity to use more content. So what was your, like, can you remember, like, what was your worst heckler and how did you handle them?
My worst heckler, I will never forget her, because women are the worst heckler. Or I don't know if I should say the worst or the strongest, because we got to have our last word in. So
Okay.
I remember I tried so much to, just kind of shut her down. And she just had to say something back. And I'm like, oh, my God, I'm just going to have to try to continue with my material. It was at a bar. I can tell it was a bar show.
Right.
So she had been drinking quite heavily.
Oh, of course.
And yes, and those are like,
it's the courage juice.
right. It's like the recipe for heckling, And I started to try to power through my set, and it was still difficult, but I got through it eventually. It took a while, and what I want to say about that experience is, this is why it's really important to have bouncers at a comedy club, or for the club to understand, like, comedy etiquette, because that would have helped me there. Like, if you go to a club and you start heckling, sometimes after the third thing you say, they'll kick you out. But at that that particular night we didn't have that, so we kind of had to power through whatever was going to come at us.
I can't even. I mean, I've had people like come up to me and say, "Oh, you know, play my song," and then I don't, and they get upset. But to have that constant like that, that's pretty.
Wow.
That's pretty like, I like it for what you guys do. That's pretty like tough to just keep continuing. And like for me, I play music, but you have to talk. Like you have to continue with your comedy. Like that's crazy. That's crazy. Okay, so what would be like your perfect comedy tour? Like, I'm sure you have people that you that are like, you have mentors, you have people that you would like love to do a tour with. So what would be your perfect comedy tour? Give me like 3 names and like where would you like to go with it?
Well, funny you asked that because I'm trying to put together a tour with some comics that are from here, from Florida.
Okay.
I'm trying to put together the Que Funny comedy tour. And so the comics that are involved are Marionette Torres, Tony God, Pat Largo, and myself. And they're all comedians. Most of us are Hispanic. One of us isn't. You can't really tell by the last names except for Marionette Torres.
Gotcha.
But my dream, I want to put this tour together to just, get more Latinos united, for comedy, because I think that that's a market that's getting missed in some spots, in a lot of spots, I would say. But I do have some comedians that are like my dream comedians that I would tour.
Let them know.
I would love to. Well, when Joan Rivers was alive, I would have loved to have toured with her.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, Anthony Jeselnik is another one. He's one I would love to tour with, and my friend Carol Montgomery does a show called Funny Women of a Certain Age. It's on Showtime. I would love to one day be a part of that show.
Okay.
And the comedians that she usually has, she's got like Lunel, which I love. I think she had Fran Drescher on one of the episodes, and I think that'd be a cool thing to be a part of.
Okay. And would you want to do like a U.S. tour or a world tour with that?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess I'm thinking U.S. tour, but why not a world? Why not a world tour? I hadn't even thought that big. I'm glad you brought it up.
That's it, right? Why not a world tour?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's funny you brought up Joan Rivers because, a lot of people don't understand. Like she became a character, and she did a lot of shows and stuff. But she's like super funny.
Yeah,
like,
to me, she's the GOAT.
She's the GOAT.
She is, because this is how, Joan Rivers had been around from a long time ago, and she knew how to roll with the times, and her material always stayed. She always wrote. She was always writing and always finding ways to stay on the scene and become a comic, and stay a comic, I should say. Because you see a lot of comedians at her age that eventually retire, or you don't hear from them anymore. But she was strong up until the day she passed.
Right.
She was going strong.
She was too. I have to admit that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love her.
All right. So U.S. tour, you gave us those names. I like it. I'd pay money for that. You know what I'm saying? Now, obviously, Joan Rivers is not with us anymore, but the Que Funny tour. I mean, I would, if you can come out to New York, man. I'd love to see it. We'd love to somehow link up and help you with that. So if anybody's listening,
I would love that.
Listen, if anybody's listening right now, and you want to get this tour up here into the East Coast, to New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New Jersey, let's go. We'll give the contact information at the end, and you know what I'm saying? Let's hook that up, right?
Yes, absolutely. If you've got a venue and you want to bring in, some Latino mixed with other background comics, we're here.
That's what I'm talking about. All right. So, can you describe how it feels to have an auditorium or a venue filled with people not laughing at you, but laughing at your jokes? Like, what type of high? Can you describe what type of high that is?
Oh, it's magical. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's almost like having a group of people and just having this laid back conversation with people that get you,
Right.
if that makes any sense.
No,
You know,
yep,
because
definitely does. Yep.
they get you. They're laughing at your jokes because they understand your point of view. It's very gratifying. And it makes me feel good on my end that for the time that I'm on stage, somebody's forgetting about their problems or their issues, you know, and they're just enjoying themselves with your craziness, and they can relate to your craziness.
Okay. Yeah, no, I can't, just that, I mean, and then they're hanging on your every word. Like, they're waiting.
Yes.
They're waiting for you to either drop a punchline and talk about a funny story. So I get it. That's awesome. I give you chills right now just thinking about that. Like, now,
It's great.
this is a question that obviously I don't speak to a lot of comedians, but do you ever turn it off? Like, for me as a DJ, if I listen to a song on the radio or in somebody's car, like, I automatically get into mix mode. Like, what would I mix this song into, and how would I? So, it's hard for me to turn it off. Like, with me, obviously, I have to have a controller, and I have. So but with you, like, can you turn it off? Can you turn off the funny?
You know, it's yes and no. You can turn it off by not saying what you're thinking, which is difficult. But you can't turn off your thoughts, because what happens is that early in my career, I noticed that the more you wrote and the more you performed, the more your thoughts went into, like, the way a stand-up routine is formed. You know, like your I don't know how to describe it, like your thoughts, you know,
Right.
your wittiness, if you will. But, you know, the no part is I have to learn, because I had a day job where, you know, it was a very professional job, and I couldn't, like, joke around all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But so people who later found out that I had left my day job to pursue stand-up full-time were like, she was stand-up? What? Like, you know, because you have to act a certain way. So in that respect, yeah, I could turn it off, but in the inside, I'm dying and I'm taking notes. I would sit at meetings, and I can tell you, I had notes with jokes that
Right.
just came to my head as things were happening in the meeting.
Do you write, like, do you mentally kick that in, or do you actually write those down, like on a napkin or a piece of paper or your phone?
You know what? On whatever I can write it down, I write it down, because like Larry David says, the minute you don't write it down, it's gone forever. You forget it. So
Right.
you have to write it down. I do write it down, but sometimes the thought isn't complete for, like, a stand-up joke yet, but
Right.
you know there's something funny there, like the punchline or something someone says. And then you later work on it. You later come back and, like, oh, yeah, I remember I wrote this. And then you start kind of structuring it where there's a punchline, there's a setup and a punchline rather than just a punchline.
Mm-hmm. So, I know for me, however, if I'm down or I'm going through something, I'll throw on a comedy, because it just there's power in laughter.
Yeah.
What's like the weirdest moment? What's like the weirdest moment you ever included comedy into that you can think of?
Well, I can't think of an exact moment, but I can tell you, like, what I was talking about before. There were times in a meeting, I work for a nonprofit as a manager of a program for the community, and I remember in a meeting, or maybe more than one meeting, saying something in a funny way, but it was kind of like saying something that other people didn't want to say, but because I said it as a joke, it kind of softened the blow. And I wasn't thinking, it was just like the way I do things sometimes, maybe. You know, maybe it's come second nature, but I'll never forget that my boss, when we had the next meeting where it was just me and the one-on-one with my boss, she said something to me. She said, the thing about you, Aniria, is that you tell people what they don't want to hear, but they don't get mad because you say it like a joke. You like say it in a funny way, and you're actually calling them out. I mean, I don't mean to call them out. It's usually calling out a situation.
Right.
But yeah, I would say that's the weird. And no one had ever said that to me, and I'm like, do I really do that? And she's like, yes, you do. So I'm surprised I haven't gotten fired then.
I'm surprised I haven't gotten. That's like a double threat. Like I think of listen. I love my Latinas out there. My wife is Puerto Rican, and I mean she says it straight. She goes straight for the. I mean, and then like to have that, and then comedy like it softens the blow. You know what I'm saying? It's like that outfit looks horrible, but I'm gonna make you laugh, and everything's gonna be better now. So that's awesome. So well, listen, we can't because we're gonna go into your social media and all that kind of stuff, but we can't go anywhere without let the people understand what que funny is.
Oh, que funny. Yeah, so que funny is a bilingual phrase that means how funny. I've had people go, oh, what does that mean? What funny? I'm like, no, it's not a literal translation. Yeah. It just means, oh, how funny. It's just something that Latinos say a lot.
That's a
You'll hear them in conversation. Yeah, like, I que funny. They'll say something funny, or you say something funny and they say que funny. And it's funny because I was sitting with a friend of mine having lunch, and I don't remember why we came up with, she said something to do with the phrase. I wrote it down like on a styrofoam container, and I went home and I was getting ready to go to the Burbank Comedy Festival in LA, and I saw that and I said, you know what, I should make myself a shirt that just says "Get Funny" and see what happens. And so I had this lady locally here that makes shirts. Just make one shirt actually 2 shirts for me, one in purple, one in black. And I said, I'll wear it to the festival, see if anybody says anything. And I got such great feedback that I came back and I started making shirts to sell. Like every other comedian, we sell merchandise at our shows, and I started selling the shirts. And then that developed into, then the quarantine hit, and I couldn't do stand-up, and so I was like, well, maybe I should develop the que funny a little bit more and try to make at least a little something, by selling stuff. And that's when Huevo Frito suggested he told me about you, and the breast cancer, and I said, that's a great idea. And then I had such a great response with that it just kind of went on from there, then ball caps, and now it's the bucket hat.
Right. And
I love it. I really enjoy it.
All right. And I'm going to post a picture. I'm going to post one of your photos with the Que Funny shirt. So, while we're talking about it, how can they purchase the shirt? What's the website?
They can go to AniriaIsFunny.com. And that's the same name of my Instagram. So you can go to either one and find it. Actually, I have a separate Instagram for just the Que Funny merch. But if you go to AniriaIsFunny.com, you can directly buy the stuff from that website.
Okay. All right, so they can go there. They can buy the shirts. So you have shirts, you have hats. What else do you have?
I just got some keychains. I had this beautiful artist from San Diego, California, create a cartoon image of me that looks like a loteria card. So I've got keychains with her artwork on it that are pretty new.
Okay.
And there'll be more to come.
That's it. It has to be more to come. Because
yeah,
I love the phrase "Get Funny." Coming from the Bronx, that's just it could be you can. It's funny the way you say it could mean like it really is funny, or like sarcastic, like "Get Funny," like Okay.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
It could go either way. You just never know. So
it can. It's like telling somebody, "Oh, you think you're so funny."
Exactly. All right, so let's go over your social media. Like you started going over your Instagram. Where else can people find you, Aniria? Where can they find you?
Well, they can find me on Instagram at Aniria is Funny. You can also find me on Facebook under just Aniria. Under just Aniria. And if you want to see more of the Que Funny merchandise, I have a separate IG account for that. It's called at Que Funny _ Aniria. And my website. You can see videos at AniriaIsFunny.com. I also have a YouTube channel, Aniria Attorney.
Okay.
So I've got all kinds of little outlets.
So there's no way they can't find you. If they can't find you, that's their fault. It's their fault.
You can Google my name, and I think I'm probably the first thing that pops up because my name is so unique.
And I love it. It is a really beautiful name. So shout out to the parents for that one.
Right, shout out to them.
Okay, 2020 was just a crazy, crazy year. In 2021, we're kind of getting things back. Now you're in Florida, and I know Florida's open. So do you have any upcoming events that you want to shout out?
Actually, we did manage to schedule our first Que Funny show, and it's not till September, but it'll be our first Que Funny tour show.
Mm-hmm.
September 11th in Tampa, Florida, at the Carrollwood Cultural Center. And before that, I just have a show without the tour at a place in West Chase, Tampa, Florida, called Wildflower, and that's on May 15th. So details will be coming up soon. Okay. I'll be posting flyers on my social media.
Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. All right. That's awesome. That's awesome. Listen, I think you're hilarious. Honestly, I think you're hilarious. I love that again, that double impact of being straightforward, but also kind of softening the blow with the comedy. I think that's an amazing twosome. So, last question. What piece? Give comedians coming up, next generation of comedians, and we all know obviously comedians can be any age, but this next generation of comedians coming up, give them one piece of advice that you live by.
I say, and I try to tell everybody who is starting out, your journey is different than anybody else's, so don't compare yourself to anyone. Because unfortunately, that's something that we tend to do, and like, oh, so-and-so's already doing this and I'm not there yet. Do not keep working on your craft, keep putting yourself out there, that your opportunity is going to come, and everybody's path is different. Their journey is different, and don't give up. Just remember that. Do not compare yourself to anyone else, because your journey is unique.
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, the Que Funny Aniria, thank you so much for your time, for rocking out with us on Comedy Week. So we're going to go into one of your skits, the San Juan Sandra, and we appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I had so much fun being on your show. Thank you for thinking of me. I love it. Thank you.
I appreciate it. And hopefully this is, not hopefully, I know this is not the last time me and you are going to work together, and hopefully we can form a bond and between Triple Threat and Que Funny. So we're excited. I hope you're excited. That's it. I think we're done. We're officially done. Thank you so much. I will talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.